So yeah, this video kind of needs a preface because I started filming and I didn't realize how crappy the lighting was until I had to stop filming because my camera ran out of battery. So that's something that happened. I'm not actually sure if the quality of this particular video will be any better because I'm still trying to figure out how to best use my camera. So we'll see how it goes. So I will just let past me start off this video. Hi everyone, it's Natalie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the books that I've read recently, so let's get started. The first book I'm going to be talking about is Priest by Sierra Simone. So in this book we follow a Catholic priest who meets this woman during her confession, and he basically gets the hots for her. So the book is essentially about him giving in to temptation and spending carnal time with this woman, but being unsure if he should give up the priesthood entirely or if he should give up the woman instead, basically. I DNF'd this at like 61% because I could not do it. Okay, let's take it back. I DNF'd this not because of the controversial topic, not because it's about a Catholic priest doing unholy things with a woman. It was not because of that. Like, a lot of things that are potentially very offensive happen in this book. I was raised Catholic, so like I know they're offensive to anyone who is actually Catholic, but to me I don't care because I'm not Catholic, so it's like fine. Like the things they did, I was like, that's wild as hell, but I'm cool with it. So none of the sexual stuff was the issue for me in this book. For me, the issue was the main character pretending like the only way he could do good for his town, for the people in his town, was through being a Catholic priest. I'm like, my dude, there's more than one way. Like, that is not the only way. Like, you don't have to be a priest in order to help your community. And like, I understand that his issue was that, I'm just gonna go into spoilers. Like, okay, let's just do it. I'm just gonna go into spoilers and you can watch if you want to and you can ignore me if you don't want spoilers. So essentially what's happening with the main character, with Tyler, is that his name? Yeah, his name is Tyler. So, okay, trigger warnings for sexual assault and for suicide. So what's going on with our man Tyler is that when he was younger, his sister was assaulted by a priest and she committed suicide because of it. So essentially, in a kind of reverse psychology thing, Tyler wants to be a priest so that he can kind of erase that past, so that he can prove to his town that not everyone is like that, that not all priests are bad. And so that's why he joins the Catholic Church. But I'm like, sir, you can do that without being a priest. Like, you don't have to be a priest to do that. You can just be involved in the church, you know? So his whole angst thing was really, really getting on my nerves. I was just like, get the fuck over it. Like, either stay a priest and stay away from Poppy. Poppy is the temptress here. So I'm like, either stay with Poppy or stay away from her. But like, this back and forth shit is driving me nuts. So just stop. So that was the main reason why I DNF'd this. This book was over 300 pages long of Tyler angsting, and I was just sick and tired of it. Apart from the fact that Poppy had no personality. Like, you were told certain things about like who she was, but really she had no personality. The only personality trait that both Tyler and Poppy lived into was being horny as hell. Like, that was their actual personality. Beyond being horny, there was nothing going on with either of them. They were just flat. They were a barren land, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So I ended up skipping around to the smutty scenes because those were really, really good. So at 61%, I decided I'm just gonna read the smut and skip everything else because I don't care. So that's what I did. So yeah, this started as a good time because I'm not gonna lie, this started as a really, really, really good time. I was having a good time, but it ended up being not a good time. The next book I'm going to be talking about is another disappointing read, but at least it wasn't a crash and burn like Priest, although it was relatively close, but in a different way. And that was The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics by Olivia Waite. This is a historical romance, and in this book we follow Lucy, who is an astronomer. She was working under her father's tutelage, and once her father dies, she's trying to figure out a way to continue her work as an astronomer when she's a woman, and no one fucking wants her to do that because the sciences are run by men. So in comes Catherine, who is a wealthy, is she a duchess? What is she? I don't know what she is, but she's wealthy, and her husband was actually working closely with Lucy's father. So once the two of them are dead, Lucy and Catherine are kind of coincidentally brought together. And so the book is basically following both Lucy and Catherine's romance and also following their struggles as they try to be essentially women of industry in their own way, like basically trying to figure out a way to be successful in what they love doing. So I rated this book 3 stars. The main reason I even compare it anything remotely close to Priest is that I was very close to DNFing it. Again, for different reasons. The main thing with this book is that I just couldn't get invested in it. I found it very, very hard to get through this book. I think I took over a month reading it because I just wasn't interested in what was happening. I kept listening to it and it was like fine, like it wasn't terrible. Like, let that be clear. This is not a terrible book. It's not by any means close to being terrible at all, but I just wasn't invested. I didn't care about the story. So that's why it took me so long to finish, and that's why it's so frustrating and so disappointing because I really, really wanted to love this book. I was actually sure I was going to love it. I bought it as an audiobook because I was like, I'm going to love this. It's going to be a time and it's going to be great. But I ended up not. And mostly it's because I couldn't get invested in the characters. Lucy and Catherine were interesting. I'm not saying they were boring at all. I don't think they were boring at all. I actually think they both had very complex pasts and they both had their own challenges to overcome. So that was definitely worthwhile and definitely made them interesting. So they were complex. Catherine had an abusive husband who she is still trying to recuperate from the trauma of being in that relationship. And Lucy is trying very hard to be independent. She was in this relationship with this woman who really didn't care about her, who was mostly just there for her because she could, because she was available, and she, you know, she wasn't really invested in the relationship essentially. And so both of them are dealing with these relationship pasts that make it difficult for them to be fully open and there and committed in their relationship. So yeah, so like objectively, this book should have been great for me. It should have worked. It should have made me invested. It should have kept me engaged. It should have made it so that I was super interested in what was going on. But for some reason, it just didn't. So yeah, this is definitely the kind of book that I'm like, it's me, it's not you. So I would definitely encourage you all to check it out for yourselves because I do think that the audience of this book is out there. I do think that there will be people who really, really enjoy this book. I just, for some reason, wasn't one of them, and I'm still grappling with why. So the next book I'm going to be talking about is Darius the Great Deserves Better by Adib Khorram. This is the sequel to Darius the Great Is Not Okay. In the first book, we basically follow Darius as he is learning about his depression and traveling to Iran because his grandfather is very ill and his family wants him to meet his grandfather before he passes away. So in this book, we're following the aftermath of that. And in particular, we're focusing on Darius's first relationship. In the first book, it's kind of hinted that he's gay, but it's not like openly talked about. And in this book, he's definitely out. He's definitely in his first relationship with a boy. And so he's trying to navigate this first relationship and kind of understand what exactly it means. While at the same time, he's also dealing with the fact that his best friend is a boy he met in Iran. So he's trying to stay close with this friend, but he's suddenly distanced. He's not talking to him as much through video calls. So he's trying to understand what's going on there. And he also joined the soccer team and he's trying to understand why this boy that is very nice to him and that they get along fine is really, really close friends to this very homophobic kid that keeps making fun of Darius. So I'm not actually sure where my last clip ended up, but I do think I finished summarizing Darius the Great Deserves Better, so I'm just going to talk about my thoughts on it. I rated this book 5 stars. I really enjoyed the sequel. It wasn't the sequel I was expecting, but it was certainly very good and very enjoyable. I think the main thing I loved about this book is actually something that irritated me while I was reading, and it was that Darius has this very complicated relationship with a new boyfriend, and that boyfriend made me want to fight. Like, I wanted to fight that boyfriend. I was ready to kick his ass. I'm like, you're lucky you're a fictional teenager, because if not, I would be ready to fight you. Like, meet me at the pit, I'm ready to fight. But at the same time, that's exactly what I loved about it, because the author gave us a really complex and interesting relationship to look at. And I think it's so important to have queer books where this first relationship isn't perfect, because it's not a perfect relationship. It is Darius's first relationship. It's his first boyfriend, but it's also not the best relationship. And I just really appreciated that. Again, it wasn't at all what I was expecting, but I think that the author did it really well. But I don't know how much to say since this is a sequel, so I'm kind of frustrated, but just know that I really loved Darius in the first book. He is precious. He is my son. He is my child. And in this book, I felt that even more intensely as I followed him trying to navigate his first relationship. As I read about him trying to figure out what's going on with this friend Chip, I just wanted to protect him even more. Like, the reason I rated this 5 stars is because I'm so deeply invested in Darius and his family and his life, just his overall life. I want to know everything. I want to know everything that's going on with Darius. I want to know that he's okay. I want to know that he will succeed and that he will be happy and that everything is just gonna be okay. I just want everything to be okay. So I don't even know how else to put it into words. I just know that I think the author has done such a great job in making you feel invested in Darius and his life and his family. And I honestly need at least one more book following Darius. I don't think his story is over. I don't feel like we're done with his character. I don't think the author has mentioned anything. I don't think he has said that he's gonna write another Darius book. He even said, and I think it was in the author's note, that he wasn't originally planning to write this book, but now that he's written it, I'm like, you need at least one more. Please write at least one more so that I can feel like Darius is okay and that, I don't know, that things are looking up for him. Let me stop talking. The last book I'm going to be talking about is Forbidden by Beverly Jenkins. I'm just going to read the summary of this book because I don't quite know how to summarize it. My brain is just, again, it's melted, it's chaos. So I'm just gonna read it. Ryan Fontaine is building the successful life he's always dreamed of, one that depends upon him passing for white. But for the first time in years, he wishes he could step out from behind the facade. The reason? Eddie Carmichael, the young woman he rescued in the desert. Outspoken, defiant, and beautiful, Eddie tempts Ryan in ways that could cost him everything, and the price seems worth paying. Eddie owes her life to Ryan, but she won't risk her heart for him. As soon as she's saved enough money from her cooking, she'll leave this Nevada town and move to California. No matter how handsome he is, no matter how fiery the heat between them, Ryan will never be hers. Giving in for just one night might quench this longing, or it might ignite an affair as reckless and irresistible as it is forbidden. I rated this book 4 stars. Was it perfect? No, not at all, honestly. It was not perfect at all. But I was hooked. I was invested. I was intrigued. I was glued to the audiobook. Like, I can't say I was glued to the pages because I was listening to it as an audiobook. But I just thought it was really entertaining, very engaging. Okay, let me start off with the flaws. This got a 4 star instead of a 5 star because it had some icky stuff that I was not into. For example, the way that sex workers were talked about in this book, I did not like it. Eddie had a sister who was a sex worker, and basically she was villainized throughout the whole book. She was made to seem like she didn't care about life. She was just fully jaded because of her work. She didn't care for her children. She was basically heartless and didn't care for anything or anyone. And I just didn't vibe with that. at all. And the thing is that there are other sex workers kind of mentioned briefly, and they're not mentioned in a positive light either. So it was just kind of, I don't know how I feel about that. So that was one of the things. The other reason is that there's only one Asian character in this book, and he's only ever referred to as the Chinese driver. And spoilers again, spoilers ahead. By the end of the novel, he dies. He's murdered. We never know his name. He's only ever called the Chinese driver. He's the only Asian character in this book, and then he's dead. I'm like, was that the best decision? I don't think so. And finally, I'm going to mention the ending, but not like spoiler specific, just very generally. And it was chaotic. It was too rushed. The author put at the end a super dramatic plot twist, and there was this whole scene that was full of action, and everything just moved very quickly at that ending, and it was just kind of a mess, and I didn't understand why that choice was made. I was like, this didn't need to happen, and it didn't need to happen this way either. So it was just weird. It was a weird choice to make because everything else was fine, and then the author threw us this curveball that I was kind of like, why did you do that? But anyway, I find it hard to talk about why I enjoyed this book so much because it's so clear to me why some people have not enjoyed it, and myself, I had issues with those things I just mentioned. So it's hard for me to talk about why I still rated it 4 stars, but mainly it's because I did like Eddie and I did like Ryan, and I thought they were cute together. I liked their interactions together. I thought they had a nice back and forth going on. I did think they had tension in their relationship. I felt like the romance between them was built steadily and at a pace that was enjoyable. I felt like their interactions in general were engaging and entertaining, and I don't know, I just thought it was a good time. I also liked the depth the characters had. I liked that Eddie had the restaurant she wanted to open. She really had those goals she wanted to accomplish. And I also liked that she built relationships with other characters. She didn't spend her whole time just either thinking about Ryan or spending time with Ryan. I enjoyed that. And I also liked that Ryan had this like very sweet side because he spent a lot of time with 2 kids in particular from an orphanage, and his dynamic with those kids was really, really super sweet, and I loved that. I don't know, I just liked the characters and I liked their romance, so I gave this book 4 stars. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you would like to follow me on any of my social media, I will leave the links to that down below in the description. But for now, see you next time.